Righto, welcome to tonight's council meeting, the 16th of August. To the people in the public there, welcome again. Sorry, we have apologies from Councillor Anea. And is there any declarations of it? Firstly, I need to acknowledge Shine of Country. To start the official proceedings, I'd like to acknowledge that we are meeting on Jara country, of which the members and elders of the Jara community and their forebears have been custodians for many centuries and have performed age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation and renewal. We acknowledge their living culture and the unique role in the life of this region. Council meetings are audio and video recorded and made available to the public via electronic media, including YouTube. Declarations of interest and conflicts of interest. Anybody? Nobody? Confirmation of the minutes of the meeting of Council 19th of July 2022.
Mayor, I confirm that they are correct.
And you're moving the recommendation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Seconder? Councillor McClure. Any discussion? Those in favour? Carried. Righto, item 5 is acknowledgement. And last week, a former councillor of the city of Castlemaine and former mayor passed away, and I'll just make these comments. And I'm talking about Tony Nesbitt. The mayor, council and staff of the Shire, Mount Alexander Shire, extend our sincere condolences to the Nesbitt family and friends following his recent passing. Tony made a strong contribution to the local government sector as a councillor of the former city of Castlemaine. He also served as mayor 3 times, 1970, 74 and 1982. He would have served as the chairman of the Castlemaine Sewerage Authority sometime during that period, because the Sewerage Authority was a similar time scale as the council. Mount Alexander Shire is deeply grateful for Tony's contribution to his local community and the former city of Castlemaine Council, and in fact the whole of Mount Alexander Shire. Tony was a well-known citizen who worked his whole work life at Thompson's Foundry as a human resources officer. He was involved in the Apex Club and the Castlemaine Art Gallery, and certainly contributed to our town, and his passing is sad. Thank you. Now, is there anyone in the audience who wish to ask a public question? We don't have any written ones today, so anybody in the audience? Righto, thank you. We'll move along to item 7, petitions and letters. We don't have any. Item 8 is committee reports. And the Goldfield Libraries Corporation board report has been tabled and circulated to councillors. Somebody would like to move, we note that report. Councillor Cordy.
Thanks, Mayor. Mike, I'd move the recommendation as printed. The council notes the Goldfields Library Corporation board reports for the period April 2022 to June 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Henderson. All in favour? Carried.
Can I just make a comment, please?
Yes.
I just want to know that in the minutes, which shows what goes on in this book, I noted in our local paper our library have dropped fines, so we no longer get fines if we bring our book back late. Hopefully that doesn't mean that lots of books are never going able to find their way back to the library. I mean, so it's just interesting to note. And there's an item of information here, CEO report, historical fines. This is for the whole of the Goldfields group. The board approves the removal of historical fines noted in the CEO report, aligning with audit requirements. Senior accountant Nathan Cutting has confirmed that fines are not part of the accounts and are not listed as a debtor. Fines were used purely as a management tool for collection without an invoice or a debt being attributed against patrons in the audited accounts. So those of you who kept your books too late, you're not held in any historical records as being in debt. Isn't that good?
Very good. Right, item 9, officers' reports, and we go to community memorandum of understanding, Mount Alexander Shire Council and Nelda Run Educational Aboriginal Corporation.
That's good.
Where's Councillor Henderson the recommendation?
Yes. Yes. That council endorses and delegates authority to the Director of Corporate and Community Services to sign the memorandum of understanding between Mount Alexander Shire Council and Nelda Run Education Aboriginal Corporation.
Seconder, Councillor Cordy. Comment?
I think I need to stick to this because this is a new one.
Mhm.
Did you want to see if there's anyone else?
Anyone else wish to speak?
There's a council and Nelda Run, and their full title, Nelda Run Education Aboriginal Corporation, have been cooperating, working together for I think the last 10 years, the report says. Council has been supporting Nelda Run in many ways, and I think this is great memorandum of understanding which formalises the ways in which council and Nelda Run work together. It's quite a long document because we do quite a lot with them, and it's different. I'm reading a modern one. That's something about it, is it? It's a quite a lot in it because we've been, in addition to providing the space for the displays of Recreation Week and having the joint Australia Day, Sorry Day celebrations. Then we have we provide bus drivers to help take Aboriginal students to the meeting place. There's a Koori school bus service which is still running, which is fantastic. That was a great initiative back in the day. I remember getting those Koori kids off to school. Koori business, boys business, and so council buses are used for that. Community buses with Nelda Run providing the drivers. We provide venues for them, and we also help fund the Mount Alexander Shire Indigenous Round Table, which of course is not just Nelda Run, but is an integral part of it. So this is a great document that is bringing together a lot of different things and setting them out formally, and it runs, or it's set to run until 2025, which time it will be reviewed probably. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Henderson. Any other councillor wish to? Cordy was seconded. You wish to? Sorry. Live stream's dropped out. Right. You're all right. That's fine. We don't have to stop. We'll keep going. You keep doing your technical work. All right. All in favour of the motion? Carried. Line 1-2, memorandum of understanding, Mount Alexander Shire Council and the Malden.
Current and anticipated future needs of Malden Centre and the community members it serves. This MOU recognises the values and contribution of Malden Centre and acknowledges its capacity to strengthen resilience, connectivity and inclusion of the local community. The MOU presents new initiatives such as commitment to advocacy, in-kind support and funding to demonstrate council commitment. And I would recommend to our fellow councillors the motion as printed. that we endorse it.
Thank you. Seconded, councillor McClure. Comments?
I'd like to make that
Councillor
comment.
Gardner.
Obviously, I know the Malvern Neighbourhood Centre well. It's really great to see that the council has a MOU with them. It's sort of a semi-formal relationship, obviously. It's good to see that relationship will continue. The Malvern Neighbourhood Centre to undertake a lot of local work. You know, things like the market, they run a lot of programs. The community members in education, age training and stuff, senior festivals and community lunch. And with it, the council makes a small contribution under this MOU to the neighbourhood centre. And it's really great to see, and I understand Castlemaine neighbourhood house, there will be a similar MOU coming. So I think that's really great.
Thank you. Gary? Right, all those in favour of the motion? Against? Carried. 9.2, the environment. 9.21, amendment C94 MALX. Plan Harcourt. Consideration of further submissions. Councillor Cordy.
Thanks, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to enable council to consider further submissions made following the exhibition of planning scheme amendment C94 and to refer these to the upcoming independent planning panel that is commenced the week of 12th September 2022. Amendment C94 MALX is a council proposed amendment to implement the recommendations of Plan Harcourt 2020 by incorporating planning policy into the Mount Alexander planning scheme, including the Harcourt Framework Plan. There's a graphical representation there that outlines a 7-stage step, and we're actually at the 5th stage. The 6th and 7th stage are the planning panel, and the 7th stage is approval. So I'd move that council considers the further submissions made to Mount Alexander Planning Scheme Amendment C94 MALX in accordance with section 22(1) of the Planning and Environment Act 1987. 2, refers the further submissions to the Independent Planning Panel in accordance with section 23 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987. And 3, delegates to the Manager of Development Services the ability to accept any late submissions to amendment C94 in accordance with section 22(2) of the Planning and Environment Act 1987 and refer these to the planning panel for consideration in accordance with section 23 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987. Thank you.
Seconder, councillor Driscoll. Comment? Nobody? Councillor Cordy?
I'll just note that there's been an extensive consultation process with this planning scheme amendment, and certainly I'm sure the planning panel, once it's formed, and will take on board all of the suggestions and matters raised by the community. So thanks to everyone that submitted, and it's also interesting to note that even late submitters late submissions will be received and considered by the panel. So that's great. So yeah, a lot of work happening, and appreciate the work of our planning team. And this project's been headed up by one of our senior planners, Lauren Watt, and she's done a great job. So excellent work by our planners. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor Cordy. Councillor Driscoll, do you wish to make a comment?
No, nothing to add. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else? All in favour? All in favour of the recommendation? Thank you. Carried. (9.3) takes us to information technology strategy. 22 to 25. Councillor McClure.
Matter before council. An information technology strategy is typically a long-term action plan for achieving goals, setting context of a rapidly changing technology environment. The review of the IT strategy focus on council's business with reviews conducted in relevant business system areas. The majority or priority business systems that we review that were reviewed are Technology One, Council's corporate software, BIA, Victoria State Government Commission for online subdivision applications, Carely, client management system services, TRIM, which is an electronic document record management system, Aesthetics, which is an asset management system, and SureTel, which is a telephony and enterprise contact center. I'm happy to recommend that council note the information technology strategy.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Gardner. Comments, Councillor McClure?
I only do of this organisation, and the strategy covers three key areas, and that's strategic alignment, governance, planning processes, make sure they're in place to ensure the organisation is aware of recent technology and trends and is positioned to determine if the investment in recent technology supports the direction of council, the IT effectiveness of the controls that we have, and the operational efficiency and innovation, and reviewing emergency trends. So it's an important document, and I propose it to other councillors. Important document.
Thank you. Councillor Gardner, do you wish to comment?
The next one, no, just what I need it, and hopefully when it works, it's great.
Any other councillor wish to make a comment? If not, all,
Just to say that it will IT is great, and when it's all working well, you don't know. And there's certainly those that it's not working well. I think it's a fantastic thing, in our IT department. I was up there the other day. My mouse wouldn't work. But I spoke to the civilian, it was working really well. Apart from that minor issue, they we've got a great team now, and yes, it is absolutely imperative that an organisation like this is connected and communicating with the outside world at all times, including emergencies. So that was very important.
thank you, Councillor Henderson. All those in favour of the motion? Carried. Delegates reports. Anyone? Any councillors have a delegate report?
I was on local radio.
Thanks, Councillor Gardner. Righto, so the CEO.
Thanks, Mayor. As always, our report of activities for the month since the last meeting has been circulated to all the councillors. I'll just pick out a couple of items and happy to answer questions as usual. One that I'll note is the Logging Capacity Regional Partnership meeting that happened with the Commonwealth Games Organising Committee. So things are certainly getting up and running very quickly with the Commonwealth Games committees. They've got a phenomenally short timeline, even though it's 2026. Things are very, very tight for them to get everything done in the time that they've got between now and then. So we were briefed, the CEOs of the region plus all of the other logging capacity regional partners were briefed on what the committee is thinking, and particularly with its thoughts to do with City of Greater Bendigo being one of the hosts. And that's the first probably several meetings that we expect to have with the Commonwealth Games Organising Committee over the coming months, especially to nail down exactly what's going to happen where and how it's going to be facilitated. And I'll come back to that a little bit in a moment. Another one I wanted to mention was that Directors Knight and Anir and myself had a meeting with the Victorian Commissioner for LGBTIQA+ communities to talk about the new strategy, which is a 10-year strategy, and also just general matters of common interest. And it was Director Knight put together a bit of a summary of all the work that we've been doing with and for the LGBTIQA+ community over the last few years. And when Director Knight finished giving the presentation of the report she'd put together, the Commissioner said, "I've just got one question. How did you get so good?" And it was just a fantastic bit of feedback, I think, not just for the amount of work Lisa Director Knight put into preparing that report, but the work that genuinely has happened in this community over the last few years to support that part of our community. So it was a really great bit of feedback, and I suspect it got us a job because they were very much hoping that those who are doing some good work can help those council areas that have got a bit of work to do. So I'm very interested in talking about that again, I think, which was great feedback for us. The other one that I'll mention is the Loddon Capacity Council's mayors and CEOs meeting, which happens bi-monthly, as councillors would know. There was one of the matters that got discussed there, again related to the community, the Commonwealth Games, and the concept of developing a legacy document for the region, which is so before, during, and then after, and for a long time, what would the region like to see happen as a result of the Commonwealth Games? What's the opportunity that we can get from the Commonwealth Games to have lasting legacies before, during, and after the Games? And led by the City of Greater Bendigo, as always, with a regional perspective. The document is being developed that certainly picks up on the fact that City of Greater Bendigo is the host of the Games, but at the same time saying what are the possibilities for the rest of us in the region to benefit from that as well. So a great initiative from the City of Greater Bendigo for the region, and it's a document that we'll be feeding into over the next couple of months or so as that, I guess, prospectus of requests gets finalised, Mayor. So I thought that was a great one. The other thing I wanted to mention from that meeting was a fellow by the name of Paul O'Neill, who has been given a very difficult job. He's the chair of the Loddon Mallee Interim Regional Body, which has been established. Sorry, I'll just swap notes here. Which was established to help the state government establish 8 regional mental health and wellbeing boards, and they have to do that by the end of 2023. And I think it was there was lots of things that were great about that. Is that there's a very strong focus on getting regional solutions to the challenges that we have in the region, but also certainly the chair Paul O'Neill expressed a very strong view that we need to make sure that the services are where the people need them to be. They're not centralised services that people have to try to find a way to get to when they're in vulnerable circumstances already. So I think there's going to be some great leadership there from Paul and his team over the next 18 months or so in the lead up to getting those permanent mental health and wellbeing boards together by the end of 2023. It was really nice to hear as well. He's got an 6-member interim board. And for the Loddon Mallee region, of those 6 members, 2 of the seats are occupied by young people. So great to hear that they're trying to get views from everybody in all age groups there. I'll leave it at that, man.
Thanks, Darren. Question? Yeah. Sorry.
Ask a couple of questions. We had a meeting with the executive team to discuss land use activity. I wonder if we could get a lot out of that meeting, some further clarity.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that. So we do have land use activity agreements in place, obviously, in this shire, because we are covered by the agreements relating to Dja Dja Wurrung, as are 13 councils. It was a follow-up to some training that we got completed. Director Anir arranged for a variety of stuff across the organisation on land use activity agreements to make sure that we do understand what is expected of us under the legislation. We had that a number of years ago. We wanted to make sure that everybody understands what the rules are now as they apply. So that was off the back of that meeting, talking about, okay, so what's next? What's the next opportunity for us to make sure that the understanding is really there, and if there's more training needed, then what is it? That's the conversation that we're having, as well as working through how do we ensure that we've got a activity agreement process in place that is fair and efficient. And I think that's been a challenge for a little while for everybody. That we all know that the legislation requires a fair bit of work to interpret, and that leads to long conversations. And we don't want that. Judge Arung doesn't want that. So that was part of what that meeting was about, was trying to say, how do we make sure that we progress this so that the right things happen, and they happen in a time frame that keeps things going.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
Right, the only, apart from all several meetings I went to, I had the pleasure of officially opening and welcoming in the delegates to Main Street Australia Conference, which was hosted here in Castlemaine by men of the Centre Business a few weeks ago. Certainly was well attended and a successful conference, with a lot of discussion about business opportunities for regional town operators, business operators. Righto, thank you. So we now go to number 11. Notices of motion. First one is 11.1. Notice of motion 2022-002. Maintenance of access road adjacent to the Dave Bennett Reserve, Muckford. Councillor Cordy.
Thanks for that, Mayor. The motion is that council adds the access road on the northern end of the Dave Bennett Reserve to the schedule of rural roads that council maintains. This road is a continuation of the Castlemaine Muckleford Road and is on the western side of the Muckleford Road, Muckleford. The rationale is the Dave Bennett Reserve is the home of the Mount Alexander Vintage Engine Club, Marbeck. Marbeck run community events including vintage engine and machinery displays and vintage tractor pulls. Maintenance of the road facilitates safer access and egress for visitors to the site. The events that Marbeck run attracts local and interstate visitors to our community, and it's a very worthwhile organisation. So, yeah, I appreciate council's support of that motion. Thank you.
Is there a second to Councillor Cordy's motion? Councillor McClure. Any discussion? You have the officer's comment there that you've all read. Councillor Driscoll.
Oh, thanks, Mayor. I just want to reiterate that the Vintage Engine Club's a great club and holds several festival types and situations a year and gets lots and lots of people. So I think this would help them and help the road from a safety point of view.
Thanks, Councillor Driscoll. Any other councillor wish to comment? Councillor Cordy.
Yeah, I just comment. I appreciate the work of our officers in putting this together for me. So appreciate that. It's great work. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favour of the motion? The motion is carried. Add that to the list, correct on here. 11.2. Notice of motion 2022-003. The reopening of Boundary Road, Taradale, for public use. Of motion.
No. I think scrap the last two words.
I think so. Well, yeah, but there will be motion if they use it.
Well, anyway, I'd like to move that council officers commence the process to reopen Boundary Road Taradale for public use and provide a further report to council at the completion of the process.
Thank you. Is there a second up? Councillor Gardner. Councillor Henderson.
Certainly, thank you, Mayor. Yes, so Boundary Road forms part of the road between Taradale and Mansfield on the east side of the Collarbone River. Everyone knows the old Calder Highway on the west side, which is now quite a quiet road and very fast. People drive along very fast, but the scenic road is on the east. It begins at the intersection of Spring Creek Road and the town of Metcalfe, and it ends at the intersection of Barker Street with the Calder Highway in central Malmesbury. Currently, the road is closed with padlock gates under a double grazing license between the southern commencement of Boundary Road and the Malmesbury Telstra Exchange, facing over Canada along. The property to which the license pertains is currently being offered for sale. In fact, later thing actually is on your offer. The residents who live to the north along Spring Creek Road are concerned with their lack of egress to the south in the event of fire or flood. The last summer there was a fire which was threatening people on this road and for which they would need to leave to the south to Malmesbury, but they were unable to because the gates were locked. And flood, well, Spring Creek actually last flooded in 2011, washing away the roadway. So those people who were actually south of the Spring Creek. I can see Councillor Neil is looking a bit alarmed. Yes, Councillor Neil was a bit alarmed.
Director in here.
Sorry, Director. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Yes, so it is a road where you want people to be able to move both ways, really. In addition, there have been repeated inquiries from cyclists wishing to use the road as a safe scenic route, especially when riding this river. This road, when open, will once again be a significant asset for locals and tourists wishing to engage in healthy outdoor exercise. There's no evidence that the road reserve being used for grazing. The property to which the license is assigned is irrigated and has abundant pasture.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Any other councillor wish to comment? Councillor Cordy?
Yeah, just a note, my great grandparents had a farm in that area, and not that I knew them, but I certainly knew my grandparents. They owned the farm, and a lot of tiger snakes in that area. So I just caution any walkers in that area to keep their eyes open.
That's interesting. Councillor Cordy, my grandfather lived at the start of Spring Gully Road.
There you go.
In that cottage, just over the creek. Any other councillor wish to make a comment apart from history going back? Director in here, do you wish to make a comment? Righto. We'll put the motion. All in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 12 is a special urgent business, and we do have one today.
That would be me.
Sorry,
That would be me.
it will be.
Councillors, I need to move as a special business. We have an MAB coming up. Now definitely can attend due to prior commitments. So the two motions. The first one being I recommend that each special business to nominate representatives places of may be considered by council.
So have we seconded for that motion? Councillor McCullough? Any discussion? We don't need any. All in favour? Motion is carried. Councillor Gardner?
So then the actual motion, obviously council point is where it is. So Councillor Tony Cordy is nominated as substitute representative to the MAB State Council on the 16th of September
2022. Seconder. Councillor McClure. Any discussion? Councillor Driscoll.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to thank Councillor Cordy. I know he's a busy man and I appreciate his time with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. Councillor Cordy.
Yeah, just a further comment. This is a very important meeting, and that's why I said that because in the event that the mayor or deputy mayor weren't able to attend, I was happy to attend. That the meetings deal, the Municipal Association Victoria had this meeting of dealing with rule changes, which are very important to rural shires. So it's important that we have someone in attendance. I'm more than happy to attend. So thank you.
Thanks, councillor Cordy, and we do thank you. And I have a citizen ceremony to perform that day, so, and councillor Leah's got something else on, so we're grateful that you put your hand up to represent us. All in favour of the motion? Carried. That brings us to the end of the agenda, apart from a confidential meeting of council to be held shortly. So I thank the audience for their attendance and Castlemaine Mail and the staff. Thank you.
To close the meeting.
Motion to close the meeting, yes.